My brother constantly blames me for not being around his kids. I had always believed that family was the bedrock of our lives, a constant amidst the chaos. Yet here I was, grappling with a relationship that had become more of a burden than a blessing. My name is Rachel. I'm 36 years old, and this is my confession. Growing up, my brother Jason and I had been inseparable. He was 9 years older than me, and in many ways, he was my hero. But as we grew older, the differences in our personalities and life choices began to drive a wedge between us. Jason married young and had kids, while I pursued my career and eventually found love later in life. We lived 45 minutes apart, a distance that felt more like a chasm with each passing year. And Jason had always been quick to blame others for his problems, a habit that extended to his relationship with me. He constantly accused me of not being involved enough with his children, Jake and Lily, who were 10 and 8. I'd tried to be there for them. I really had, but every time I offered to take them for a day or plan something special, Jason would cancel at the last minute or decline outright. Eventually, I stopped asking. It was easier that way, less painful. 3 weeks ago, my husband Mark and I had an idea to take a road trip to a neighboring province. We thought it would be fun to invite Jason, his wife, and the kids. It could be a chance to reconnect, to bridge the growing gap between us. When we asked, Jason declined, saying they couldn't afford it. I understood. Times were tough for everyone. But then, just a few days ago, I found out through social media that Jason and his family had indeed gone on a trip to that very province. They had lied to us. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. It wasn't about the trip. It was about the deceit, the unnecessary cruelty of it. Why couldn't he just tell me the truth? The lies were one thing, but Jason's verbal abuse was another. He had a knack for tearing me down when I was at my lowest. During some of the most challenging periods of my life, he had been conspicuously absent. Yet now, he expected me to drop everything to be at his beck and call, to babysit his unruly children who screamed and cried whenever they didn't get their way. It was too much. I had reached my limit. My patience was worn thin, and the constant criticism from Jason had taken its toll. He was now complaining to our parents about my supposed neglect, painting me as the villain in this family drama. It hurt, and I didn't know how to handle it anymore. One evening, after another frustrating phone call with my parents in which they subtly hinted that I should make more of an effort with Jason, I broke down. Mark found me in the kitchen, tears streaming down my face as I struggled to make dinner. "Rachel, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice full of concern. "It's Jason," I replied, wiping my tears with the back of my hand. "He's been bad-mouthing me to Mom and Dad again. I can't take it anymore." Mark pulled me into a hug, holding me tightly. "You don't have to put up with this, you know. You've done everything you can. It's not your fault." "I know, but it still hurts," I said, my voice trembling. "I feel like I'm constantly being judged, like nothing I do is ever enough." Mark pulled back slightly, looking into my eyes. "Maybe it's time you confronted him, told him how you feel. You deserve to be heard." His words resonated with me. I had been avoiding a direct confrontation with Jason, hoping things would somehow improve on their own. But they hadn't, and it was time to face the issue head-on. The following weekend, I decided to visit Jason. I needed to talk to him face-to-face. As I drove to his house, my stomach churned with anxiety. I didn't know how he would react, but I knew I had to do this. When I arrived, Jason seemed surprised to see me. He invited me in, and we sat in the living room. The kids were playing noisily in the background, but I was determined not to be distracted. "Jason, we need to talk," I began, trying to keep my voice steady. He raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "About us, about our relationship," I said, taking a deep breath. "I feel like there's a lot of unresolved tension between us, and it's affecting everyone." Jason leaned back, crossing his arms. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the way you've been treating me," I said, my voice gaining strength. "You constantly blame me for not being around your kids, but every time I try to make plans, you cancel or say no. And then there's the trip. Why did you lie to us?" Jason's expression hardened. We didn't lie. Plans changed. Plans changed? I echoed, incredulous. You could have told us the truth. Instead, you chose to deceive us. Do you have any idea how that made me feel? He looked away, avoiding my gaze. I didn't think it was a big deal. It is a big deal, Jason, I insisted. And it's not just about the trip. You've been verbally abusive to me for years. You were never there when I needed you, yet you expect me to be there for you and your kids all the time. It's not fair. Jason's face reddened with anger. You're making this all about you. You're the one who's never around. You don't know what it's like to have kids. You're right. I don't, I admitted. But that doesn't mean I don't care. I've tried, Jason. I've really tried. But you make it so hard. Your kids are difficult, and you never appreciate my efforts. And now you're poisoning our parents against me. There was a long silence. Jason seemed to be wrestling with his thoughts. Finally, he spoke, his voice softer. I didn't realize you felt this way. I guess I've been so caught up in my own problems that I didn't see what I was doing to you. His admission took me by surprise. I just want us to have a better relationship, I said, my voice wavering. I want to be there for you and your kids, but I need you to meet me halfway. Jason nodded slowly. I'll try. I'm sorry for the things I've said and done. I know I haven't been fair to you. Over the next few weeks, things began to change. Jason made an effort to communicate better and to involve me in his family's life in a more considerate way. We planned a few outings with the kids, and though they were still a handful, the atmosphere was different. There was a sense of mutual respect that hadn't been there before. One evening, as we sat in the backyard watching the kids play, Jason turned to me. I really appreciate you being here, Rachel. I know it hasn't been easy. It's worth it, I replied, smiling. We're family. We just need to work on understanding each other better. Our parents noticed the change, too. The tension that had hung over our family gatherings began to dissipate. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about our future. Months passed, and our friendship continued to improve. We celebrated holidays together, shared laughs, and even navigated a few disagreements with more patience and understanding. The bond that had once felt irreparably damaged was slowly being rebuilt. Jason and I had a long way to go, but we were on the right path. I no longer felt like an outsider in my own family. We had faced our issues head-on, and though it had been difficult, it was worth it. In the end, family isn't about perfection. It's about love, forgiveness, and the willingness to grow together. And as I looked around at my brother, his wife, and their children, I knew we were doing just that. It was a journey, and we were taking it one step at a time together.